Hey everybody, this is the Commodore from the Clan of the Grey Wolf, and here is the fourth installment of the weekly Wringer series for the second week of January 2011. As you recall, last week we had a Wringer question that focused around what is the things that you're looking most forward to in the year 2011, specifically with games. And got some great responses as normal. You guys are really stepping up to the plate on that, and I appreciate it. Lots of great responses, and I'm definitely going to spend a couple of minutes highlighting some of those. I'll give you my own opinion as always, and then we'll launch right into the next and unthemed this week question for weekly Wringer, for the next weekly Wringer series next week. So so the question was, what is the game that you're most looking forward to for the year 2011? Didn't have to be a game, could have been anything. You guys stepped up to the plate. It seems that the clear consensus from everybody this week was that the most anticipated technology of the year for all of you is the 3DS. Okay, great. I think the 3DS is very exciting. I think it's got a lot of stuff to offer, and quite frankly, I can't wait to get my hands on one for sure. Doesn't mean I necessarily want to buy one. I have to say, truly, that I don't really share your sentiment with excitement and anticipation for it. I have a DS Lite. I really like what it's capable of doing, and I'm not really sure that 3D is anything more than a gimmick. Remember that Nintendo has spent probably the last 25 years really walking that very thin line between innovative technology and gimmicky technology. And although I think they've probably done a little of both, I think you could argue they've done a lot more gimmicky stuff than they have innovative. And I'm not sure this 3D thing isn't just another step in that direction, although I know while Rue is watching this, he's throwing things at his screen because he clearly is not only has a great series on how games work for the 3DS, which I think really very well outline the technology, but I know he's also a big fan and definitely anticipating the 3DS as well. So he would have a different opinion as me, obviously, but that's okay. That's what the Wringer's all about. So anyway, the community seems to really be looking forward to the 3DS, and I think it's great. And we'll see what happens as we get closer to launch time, and once we can actually get them in our hands and see where they're going. I'm also not really convinced that a gaming console that is mobile and it's just a gaming console in that sense, in the classical sense, the way they created it with the Game Boy, is really the future, let's say. I'm not sure that's not just going to be something that gets phased out by our mobile devices moving forward. I'm not saying it's going to, just asking the question, who knows. Now, in terms of games, clearly we have a lot to look forward to in 2011. There's a lot really going on. Lots of cool things to look forward to in terms of games, and there were a lot of great suggestions in the replies that you guys gave, and I think they're all very valid. But I want to talk for a second about my choice for the most anticipated game of 2011, and I am going to have to agree with PhD23. After giving it much careful thought, my most anticipated game of 2011 is definitely Diablo 3. I have the first Diablo, the original Diablo, is one of my favorite games of all time. I might even put it in the top 10. It is infinitely replayable. It's always fun, and it doesn't even matter how much of the game that you've explored, how many of the different experiences with it you've had. You can just pick it up and play it almost any time, and every once in a while, to this day, I still get some Diablo cravings to go back and play the original. I didn't play 2 as much, but I did play it, and it was tremendously fun. And having seen what the third installment looks like with some of the previews that Blizzard has given, wow, really impressive. They've really embraced the technology, but they've also taken a lot of good time to, I think, service the story, the narrative, and also the look and feel of the best parts of the first 2 installments of Diablo. And I agree with PhD again. The story, the look and feel of Tristram in the first Diablo, the music, that was really a unique experience. And I'm really hoping that looking forward for Diablo 3 in 2011, they can really capture that essence in a new and tremendously anticipated game. 'Cause there's a lot of pressure on, there's only been 3 Diablo games, so they're really going to have to do their handiwork with it. So, so there you go. I love the idea of going forward with Diablo for 2011, but that being said, that's just my pick. Maybe there are a couple other things that, a couple other games that we could mention as well. You know, one of the things that I'm really looking forward to for 2011 is Guild Wars 2. Now, those of you that have read my blog, those of you who've seen the echo screens, you know that I'm not really an MMO kind of guy. But if I have to pick one, I have to say that Guild Wars has been my favorite by a long shot. I bought, except for Eye of the North, I really got every single game that they released for the first one. I had a tremendous amount of fun with each of them. And although it really hit me at a kind of a strange time in my life where I was finishing university, was going to the working world, and I went from being able to play maybe 5 or 6 hours a day to being able to play maybe 5 hours a week if I really worked at it. So I'm not even sure if I'll even get a chance to play the upcoming Guild Wars 2, but that being said, it looks absolutely amazing, and I really hope they do all the things that they promise now, because the game just looks spectacular. And one of the things that I love about Guild Wars, as opposed to some other MMOs that I've seen, is it really is an artistically driven game. It's a game driven by an artistic vision of this fantasy world that I find really compelling. And I think any of us that are kind of the high sword and sorcery kinds of fantasy people, like myself, I really like those things. You know, it really is one of the best experiences out there for me. It really even feels up and away better than WoW does to me. And I know that's going to be heresy to some of you out there, but it's absolutely true for me. So Guild Wars 2 is something I'm definitely looking forward to. There's a huge list. I could go into a lot of games, but the Ringer's not supposed to be a 20-minute video, so I'm going to try to keep it short, or even shorter than I have in the past, so I won't get into a ton of them. Although another one I want to bring attention to is the HD remake of Beyond Good and Evil, which is one of my favorite games from the original Xbox from 2003, I believe was the year on that. Just a great game, wonderful experience, and one of the best games that not many people have played. And I'm glad that they're bringing it back to a new audience, and I hope they do a tremendous job with it. That's the game side. Now I'm going to cheat a little bit, because more than even the game that I'm looking forward to, the most anticipated item for 2011 happens to not be a game, or at least maybe directly game related. Instead, it's more of a technology. And I'm also cheating a little bit, because this was something that I didn't even really find out about, because it didn't happen until after the new year, right after the new year. But I'm not sure if any of you really follow the PlayStation 3 and the community surrounding the PlayStation 3. I know I haven't done my share of that until recently, but there has been just a tremendous rush of energy in the PlayStation scene, and the reason why, it looks very similar to the way the original Xbox scene looked back in 2003 to 2005, essentially, when I got on board with that. As you all know, I've had a lot of interest. Any of you that have read my blog, you know definitely that I'm very interested in finding the next great community surrounding exploits or modding the current generation of consoles. Now, I want to say this right off the bat. I have absolutely no interest in piracy. I don't condone piracy in any way, nor does the Clan of the Grey Wolf. But I know some people out there are probably going to be looking to this just for piracy, but that's their prerogative. Has nothing to do with my mission. What I want to do, if I found an exploit for the PS3, and something that I'd be very excited about, would be being able to run homebrew code. Being able to use it as a true media center that had better LAN compatibility. I could share things from all my different devices and really do it from almost any kind of format with all the different encoders just built in. without a lot of proprietary BS. And the reason I still have an Xbox One and use it all the time, more than my 360, I even use it, is because it just has so much capability built right into it that it never was intended to have. So I don't know how, like I said, I don't know how many of you have followed this, but there is a group during a hacker convention, Berlin Hacker Convention. There was a demonstration of a group called Fail Overflow. You can look them up. They continued on some of the work of George Hotz, or GeoHot, as he is known on the internet. I also blogged about this way back. But they followed in some of his work, and then he ended up piggybacking off of some of their work. And they, without getting too technical in the conversation, they basically found a hole inside the PlayStation security that would open the PlayStation to being to running unsigned code. And this has nothing to do with modding. It has nothing to do with opening the case. It might have to do with altering firmwares, which is something that people are really looking into. But the scene is buzzing right now. There's maybe 3, 4, 5 different pieces of news, different tools coming out every single day. And that's very exciting stuff. So that's my most anticipated technology of 2011. I can't wait to see what happens with this, because if this goes on the way that the Xbox did way back in the day, then count me in for buying a brand new PS3, because I will be there, no doubt. In fact, it's probably the only reason I'll probably buy a PS3, as it turns out. So maybe Sony's gonna do good with me with this. Although I have a funny feeling that Sony doesn't share my sentiments for the ability to exploit their console. I think they probably do like the idea that I would buy one, because I never would have bought one any other way. I have a funny feeling Sony's not going to have a very good year, because regrettably there are a lot of people out there that only want this kind of exploit for piracy. Again, not me, but Sony doesn't really care. Okay, so that's going to wrap up the Ringer from last week. So now let's get to the Ringer for this week. So those of you that have been paying attention, the last 2 weeks have really been themed. We had Christmas, we had New Year's, so there was a theme wrapped around that. I wasn't just asking the kind of questions for the Ringer that I really would like to do, which either follows current events or is looking to just ask a really deep philosophical question, or a really cheap, think about it for 3 seconds, write 3-word answer. The Ringer for this week follows the latter formula more than the former, although I love when you guys do write 3 paragraphs, and trust me, I read every single word of it. But this week probably won't be that. Although, who knows, maybe the Flame Wars will just go on after I ask this question. I like the idea of doing verses, almost like a battle in the Ringer. So I'll give you a point A and a point B and let you guys hash it out on the forums, and that's what Weekly Ringer number 4 is going to be about. The question for Weekly Ringer number 4 is Power Rangers or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? You heard me. Which is it going to be, guys? Maybe I've missed something. Maybe you want something else. I don't know how many of you out there still love Voltron or the like, but let's try to make this as close to a versus battle as we can. Let's see what the demographics out there have to say. And if you're too young to remember both of them, go get the DVDs, or go jump on YouTube or something. But please don't comment until you see it, right? Because we've all, I think most of us that watch these videos, I'm sure you guys have experienced both of these things in droves. So that's the Weekly Ringer for the 4th installment for the 2nd week of 2011. I am the Commodore from the Planet of the Grey Wolf, and there is no reset button.